Hello, and welcome to our podcast episode number 93, an incredible journey of love, friendship, and adventure. I'm Thomas, and I am here with my friend Timothy. Tonight, we are going to discuss a film called Up. Up is a 2009 American animated comedy drama adventure film about an elderly widower named Carl Fredricksen who travels to South America with a young boy named Russell in order to fulfill a promise he made to his late wife. Along the way, they encounter a talking dog and figure out someone has sinister plans for a giant bird that turns out to be Carl's childhood hero. To start with, I quite liked the film, even though drama isn't one of my favorite genres. Timothy, what were your initial thoughts?
Well, Tom, I must say that Up wasn't exactly my cup of tea. I mean, it had some moments that were quite touching, but overall, I found the story to be a bit too dramatic for my taste. I did appreciate the animation and the visuals of the film. They were well done. But the plot itself was just a bit too predictable for me.
Oh, come on, Timothy. It's not all about action and explosions. You gotta give some credit where it's due. This movie had a really touching storyline, and I think Pixar did an amazing job with the characters, especially Carl and Ellie. Their relationship was truly heartwarming.
Well, I don't deny that their love story was well crafted, but I just found myself wanting more from the adventure aspect of the film. It felt like they spent more time on the emotional moments between Carl and Ellie than actually exploring the world they supposedly traveled to. And don't get me started on that giant bird. It was just a plot device used to move the story forward. Nothing more, nothing less.
Now, Tim, you can't say that. The film was never marketed as an action-packed thriller. It was clear from the trailer and the synopsis that this movie was about a man's journey of love and loss. And honestly, I think they did a great job of balancing the emotional moments with the adventure aspect. Besides, what did you expect? A non-stop action scene with cars chasing each other through the Amazon?
Well, I'm not saying it had to be like Indiana Jones, but there could have been more exploration of the setting and the culture they were supposedly immersed in. Instead, it felt like they just skimmed over it to get back to the emotional drama between Carl and his late wife's memories. I mean, don't get me wrong. The voice acting was superb, especially by Ed Asner as Carl. But the story itself was just a bit too predictable for my taste.
Well, Timothy, you know how much I value your opinion. Truly I do. But sometimes it's nice to just sit back and enjoy a movie that doesn't have to be action-packed all the way through. Up was an emotional roller coaster, filled with moments of joy, sorrow, and ultimately redemption. It reminded me of the importance of cherishing the time we have with our loved ones, because, as cliché as it sounds, life is short, and we should make the most of it while we can.
I won't deny that there were some touching moments in the film, but for me, it just didn't live up to its potential.
But enough about my personal preferences, too.
Let's talk about the plot a bit more. So, they end up at this place called Paradise Falls, right? What exactly happens there?
Well, Timothy, you're right about them ending up at Paradise Falls. It turns out that it was actually a special place for Carl and Ellie. They had always dreamt of going there together, but life got in the way, as it often does. So when Carl finally decides to fulfill his promise and take Ellie's ashes there, he accidentally invites the neighborhood kid named Russell along for the ride. Now I know what you're thinking. This sounds like a typical dumb kid ruins old man's plans trope, but trust me, it's actually quite the opposite in this case. So anyway, they end up flying their house to South America using balloons, and of course, things don't go exactly according to plan. They crash land on a tepee just across from Paradise Falls, and that's where the real adventure begins. While trying to repair their house, they encounter a lost explorer named Charles Muntz, who's obsessed with finding the legendary giant bird called the elusive and capturing it alive. He believes that bringing back proof of its existence will finally restore his tarnished reputation as an explorer. Now, I haven't spoiled too much for you here, Timothy, but let me just say that the film does a great job of balancing the emotional and adventure aspects you were talking about earlier. It's a heartwarming tale about love, loss, and second chances wrapped in an exciting adventure filled with humor, danger, and some truly stunning visuals. So what do you think? Did I manage to persuade you to give up another chance?
Well, Tom will give you credit where it's due. The visuals were indeed breathtaking, and the story had its moments of emotional depth. But for me, it just wasn't enough to make up for what I perceived as a predictable plot line and a lack of true adventure. However, I am always open to giving a film another chance. So maybe someday I might be more willing to give up another chance myself. Now, let's shift gears a bit and talk about some interesting trivia related to the film. Did you know that Up was Pixar's 10th feature-length animated movie, marking a significant milestone for the studio? And speaking of milestones, it was also the first Pixar film ever to be released in the format of both regular and 3D theaters. The story of Carl and Ellie's relationship is truly touching. But did you know that the animators actually spent months just perfecting their dance sequence? They even hired a professional ballroom dancer to help them capture the moves accurately. And that iconic house lifting off scene took an incredible amount of planning and animation work. It reportedly took a staggering 80,000 individual frames to bring it to life. Now let's talk about the film's soundtrack. The score was composed by none other than Academy Award-winning composer Michael Giacchino, known for his work on films like Star Trek and Rogue One, A Star Wars Story. His score for Up earned him a well-deserved Academy Award for Best Original Score, making it only the second animated film ever to receive this prestigious award. And lastly, let's talk about the voice cast. As I mentioned earlier, Ed Asner voiced Carl in him. He exactly nailed the role. But did you know that some other notable actors and actresses also lent their voices to the film? There's the iconic actress and former First Lady of the United States, Betty White, who voiced the character of Mrs. Fredricksen, Carl's late wife. And then there's the legendary actor, comedian, and philanthropist, the late great Miss Christopher Plummer, who played the role of Charles Muntz.
So, Tom, what do you think?
Did I manage to find any interesting tidbits about Up that piqued your curiosity, or at least made you appreciate the film a bit more?
Well, Timothy, you've certainly done your research on the movie's trivia. Now, let's shift our focus back to the special effects and filming techniques used in Up. To begin with, the animation itself was nothing short of spectacular. Pixar's signature computer-generated images were used to bring the film's colorful locations and characters to life. The attention to detail in creating environments like the Amazon rainforest and the vast expanses of the Tepuy Mountains was truly breathtaking. One particular scene that stands out for its technical prowess is the opening montage, depicting the entirety of Carl and Ellie's life together in just a few minutes. It seamlessly transitioned between different stages of their lives, from childhood to adulthood, and even showcased the passage of time with subtle changes in their appearance and surroundings. This was achieved through the clever use of computer-generated models and environments combined with traditional hand-drawn animation techniques. Another impressive feat was the seamless integration of live-action elements into the animated world. The film's director, Pete Docter, had the brilliant idea of shooting actual footage of real-life locations, such as the Tepuy Mountains in Venezuela and Brazil, and incorporating them seamlessly into the CG environments created by the animators. This technique, known as CG integration, gave the film an unprecedented sense of authenticity and believability. Finally, the film's use of stereoscopic 3D technology added another layer of immersion for viewers. The depth of the scenes, particularly during the various aerial sequences, was truly mesmerizing. The combination of CG and live-action elements, along with the judicious use of 3D effects, created a breathtaking cinematic experience that immersed audiences in the world of Up. So, Timothy, now that we've discussed the special effects and filming techniques used in Up, do you think it might have piqued your interest just a bit? Perhaps you can appreciate the effort that went into making this animated masterpiece come to life?
Well, Tom, I must admit that the technical aspects of Up are indeed impressive. But let's shift our focus back to the actors and their portrayals of the characters in the film. Firstly, we have Ed Asner as Carl Fredricksen. As I mentioned earlier, he perfectly captured the essence of a grieving widower who has been bottling up his emotions for years. His voice conveyed the character's mix of sadness, anger, and ultimately redemption beautifully. As for Christopher Plummer as Charles Munson, he brought to life an eccentric explorer consumed by his obsession with finding the mythical bird, the elusive. His performance was both captivating and slightly menacing, which added depth to the character. Now let's talk about the young actor who played the role of Russell. I don't recall his name off the top of my head, but he did an excellent job of portraying a curious and adventurous kid whose enthusiasm and innocence were contagious. He helped bring humor and lightheartedness to the otherwise melancholic storyline. And lastly, we have the late Betty White as Mrs. Fredricksen, who provided the much-needed maternal presence in Carl's life. Her warm and comforting voice added an extra layer of depth to the film. In conclusion, the cast of Up did an outstanding job bringing Pixar's characters to life. Each actor, actress perfectly captured their respective characters' traits, emotions, and arcs throughout the movie. The chemistry between Carl and Russell, as well as with the other supporting characters, was palpable, making it difficult not to root for them during their adventure. So, Tom, now that we've discussed the performances of the actors and their portrayal of their respective characters, do you think this might have piqued my interest just a bit?
Well, Timothy, it's clear that you can appreciate a good performance when you see one, and Up certainly delivered on that front. But let's shift our focus now to the film's cultural significance. First and foremost, Up tackles the universal theme of aging and its inevitable consequences such as loss and isolation. It explores how our dreams and aspirations can fade away due to circumstances beyond our control, but also how it's never too late to chase after them again. The film encourages us to cherish the time we have with our loved ones, whether they are still with us or gone, and not let unresolved issues and regrets consume us. The depiction of the elderly protagonist defying stereotypes is also an important aspect of the film's cultural significance. Instead of portraying Carl as a frail old man confined to his chair, the film shows him as a determined, adventurous, and physically capable individual who refuses to let his age define him. This empowering message resonates with many older viewers who may feel invisible or undervalued in today's youth-centric society. Up also celebrates the bond between generations and how mentoring and friendship can transcend age differences. The relationship between Carl and Russell is a perfect example of this. Initially, they are complete strangers who learn to appreciate each other's strengths and weaknesses during their journey. By the end of the film, they have formed an unbreakable bond that teaches us about empathy, understanding, and forgiveness. In conclusion, Up is not just an animated adventure comedy film. It's a thoughtful exploration of life's inevitable challenges and how we choose to face them. It reminds us to never underestimate the power of love and connection, no matter our age or circumstances. And that, my dear Timothy, is the true cultural significance of Up. So, Timothy, now that we've delved deep into the cultural significance of Up, do you see it a bit differently? Do you think it might be worth giving it another chance?
Well, Tom, I can appreciate your points, and you've definitely made me look at the film from a different perspective. I suppose it is worth giving Up another chance, especially considering how much time and effort went into making it such a visually stunning masterpiece. But let's not forget that personal preferences are subjective, and what one person finds enjoyable might not be for another. In the end, All we can do is share our thoughts and opinions and hope that others might find them interesting or even agree with us.
I couldn't have said it better myself, Timothy. At the end of the day, film is a subjective experience, and what resonates with one person may not necessarily resonate with another. But that's what makes discussing movies so fascinating, isn't it? We all bring our own unique perspectives to the table and can learn from each other's experiences. I hope that this conversation has given you something new to think about when it comes to Up. And who knows, maybe you'll even find yourself humming Married Life in the shower tomorrow morning.
Now, that's a possibility I never would have considered, but in all seriousness, I do appreciate the different aspects of Up that we've discussed today, and I think it's safe to say that my initial rating for the film might just be a bit too low. Perhaps I will give it another chance and see how it holds up against my own personal preferences this time around.
Well, if you do decide to give Up another chance, let us know what you think. We'd love to hear your updated thoughts on the film in a future episode of Tim and Tom's Film Nights. In the meantime, thank you for joining us today, and remember to like, comment, and subscribe to our channel if you enjoyed this discussion. And until next time, keep watching those movies.
See you soon, Thomas. Keep an eye out for that grape soda bottle cap Ellie gave you. It's a treasure worth keeping.